afternoon, everybody. Yes, thank you for joining me on such a chilly morning. I figured there might be a good turnout because no one wants to go outside, right, and do an activity. But my name is Donna Dickinson, and I am a volunteer with AARP Minnesota. And I'm going to be chatting with you today on cybersecurity and hopefully give you a few tips on how to help keep you safe online from scams and fraudsters. I'm sure a lot of this is not going to be new news to you, but maybe you'll glean a few new tips and are good just refreshers to keep in mind and say, oh yeah, I knew that, but I haven't been doing that as of late. Keep in mind, I am a volunteer, and while I've been trained on this presentation, I'm not a tech expert, as we know, just kind of getting this up and running here. But if nothing else, I can impart some education for you. So, just a little bit about AARP in general. Our mission is to help empower and provide financial security for all Americans as we all age. And it really started AARP over 60 years ago by a school principal by the name of Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus. And she started AARP after she went to visit one of her retired school teachers, only to find her living in a chicken coop, because this woman had no financial retirement savings back over 60 years ago, had to rent out her house to get income, and lived in her backyard in the chicken coop as a result. And that spurred Dr. Andrus on to formulate AARP, and with the mission to help Americans live the kind of life they want to live with financial security and other educational needs as they age. And obviously fraud and cybersecurity really dovetails into this very nicely. So what we do is we advocate for change at the local, state, national levels for people, advocating for people over age 50 plus and caregivers also. We are nonpartisan, do not endorse any parties whatsoever, but we are here to really encourage legislation that offers quality and affordable health care, protects Medicare, Social Security, and then also to engage volunteers to go out in the community and offer a lot of social activities, because it's good for all of us to be very social as we age. So you may, if you're a member of AARP or not, you may receive information about various activities that go on in the community, and a way to engage with other people out there in the public and have some fun, whether it be movies, whether it be brew pub gatherings, whether it be activities at the state fairgrounds. So just a few examples there. And we also provide education. I'm an example here. There's a lot of other topics that we talk about and educate groups on, and we also offer a lot of online resources too, and I'll chat about that a little bit later. So, getting into our topic at hand, my agenda for today is what is cybercrime? What are the top types of scams out there, both throughout the US and within Minnesota? What are tactics that scammers tend to use? How to protect yourself, and some resources, and of which one of the handouts, well, two of the handouts they passed out today are some resources that you can take back to your home and utilize in the future. So, what is cybercrime? Well, it really encompasses a wide range of criminal activities that are carried out to really kind of infiltrate your digital devices and or your networks. And your digital devices, remember, is not only your laptop or your PC or your smartphone, but it's also, if you happen to have, and I don't know if you do in your units here, security systems, your children's baby monitoring devices and their home security devices, appliances, that all is connected to the network. And if scammers get into the network via any of those devices, they have access to get into your information. And as sad but true, the scammers can tend to be really skilled at this, often are part of organized crime rings. And so they really target vulnerabilities to get into your networks and your online accounts. Now, it's not common for a scammer to hack an individual's device. Individuals, it's not kind of really prevalent for them if they can't get a lot of information. They're going to tend to hack industries, companies' devices and get a lot of information in that way. But they will use social engineering tactics to get in by sending you a virus that you'll download onto your system and scam you from there, to send you phishing messages where you'll drill into a link and then you'll load information on there and they've accessed your account. So that's their more popular way of getting information to scam individuals. Sad but true, they are very successful. The Federal Trade Commission is just gathering 2024 information, but as of the end of 2023, there was over 2.6 million reported fraud incidences that accumulated over $10 billion in reported losses. And the sad fact of it is the majority of scams are not reported, okay? So this is just really a fraction of what has actually happened. And I'll talk about this a bit later. So many of the scams and frauds that are committed go unreported because people are embarrassed, or they feel embarrassed that they got hooked into this swindle, and so they don't report. And that's sad, and we really have to change that kind of attitude there. Show of hands, have you or anyone else had an attempted or a completed scam? I'm hearing a lot of yeses. There you go. There you go. So it's sadly impacting all of us, right? Right? And how many emails and phishing messages and texts do we get a week, a day? It's just crazy, isn't it? So trends in cyber scams. Okay, so for year-end 2023, these were the top 5 types of cyber scams that occurred in the U.S. What we call number 1, imposter scams. I'll drill down into these ongoing here. Number 2, online shopping scams. 3rd, prize or sweepstakes lottery scams. 4th, investment scams. And lastly, and what is growing now, is business and job application scams. Okay. In Minnesota specifically, we're seeing a lot of imposter scams, online shopping scams, and also those old-fashioned sweepstakes lottery scams, right? Oh, I see some nodding of heads here. I thought those were all gone, but people, they're still doing, Reader's Digests or sweepstakes and so forth, and scammers are taking advantage of that, sadly. So, imposter scams. So, by pure definition, that is a scammer who poses as someone else, and that is posing as a government operation, Social Security, Medicare, a utility. How many times have you heard or seen possibly where you get a phishing message that says, something's wrong with your Social Security number. Let's drill into this link here and make sure we have the right Social Security number. Stop, okay? If it's truly Social Security, they already know your Social Security number, right? Okay. Medicare fraud. Scammers would love your Medicare number because then they'll file fraudulent claims under your Medicare number. Utilities, you get an email that says, if you are behind on your utility electrical bill payment, and if you don't provide your credit card information to pay up immediately, we will shut off your utility services. Not, okay? Social Security, Medicare will never send you an email or call you. They'll send you written information, and they'll never threaten you and say, we're gonna stop your social security payments, or we're gonna stop your electricity without a lot of forewarning. So those are all red flags there. Tech support experts, obviously you need to keep your software updated with the latest software updates, but sometimes you might see a pop-up on your screen. Beware of that, because that could be a scammer trying to infiltrate, and once they get into your system, they'll attach malware into your laptop.
So I have a question about that, because I would say that probably is one thing I wanted an answer for today. How do you know if it's a true, like you buy your laptop and you get, a 2-year contract with whoever, and,
Right.
to supply malware, the anti-malware stuff. And how do you know if it's a pop-up, or if it's actually a contract that's coming up, or the company's just offering you an upgrade,
It's a legitimate software
yeah, how do
thing.
you differentiate between legitimate and just a scam?
I think if you're questioning it, the safest way to do it is to literally go to Apple support and go to the verified website and their verified customer support number and say, hey, what version, I'm getting this message here, is that legitimate? Is this the latest version I should be updating or not? And you're going through the legitimate provider.
Okay.
That'd be my biggest tip, but that's a very good question.
Question.
Yes.
So I have a anti-malware software on my laptop, which is Apple, and I call Apple and say, do I need this on my iPad and iPhone also? And they told me no, that those are encrypted or something, so you don't need it. Did they tell me the right thing? This is an Apple person.
I would go back to your provider, your security. Are you talking about Apple security, or is it like Norton
it's
security?
third-party security.
Yeah, I would go back to your third-party provider and ask them that question. That would be my 2 cents. If it's like Norton, go to Norton and their legitimate website and their legitimate customer service number.
Yeah, they
And ask
keep
that
sending
question.
me emails all the time. I think they're not
Yeah, and there's a lot of I have Norton for mine, and I get a lot of spam Norton deals.
Yeah,
And I never drill into them, and I never call the number on that particular email or text. If I have a question, again, go back and look online and get the actual authenticated website and call their number or go to their chat box there. Okay.
I just wanted to say about Social Security and Medicare, they do send emails for a legitimate purpose. But the ones that would say something about, we need your Medicare number, or we need your Social Security number,
Right.
those would not be good. But Social Security and Medicare do send legitimate emails.
Right,
So
but
if
never
you
asking
get-
for information.
Right, so if you get one and you don't trust it, then just don't click on the email, go to the site, go to Social Security or Medicare site and log in and see what's going on.
Right, good clarification, thank you. Thank you. Also talk about romantic interest, and I'll give you an example there of where that becomes sadly a very utilized type of scam that really can hook into a lot of people who never thought they would get scammed in that way. So, bottom line, and is the scammer's goal is to scare and coerce victims into giving them money on sensitive personal information. And no matter how intelligent you think you are or you are, they have a way of getting you to kind of go under their ether and provide information you never thought you would. The second most prevalent scam is online shopping scams. And I think we've seen that a lot, especially before the holidays, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook, where supposedly there's this great deal for a certain product or service. And bottom line, if the deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, okay? There are some scammers out there that you'll send money for a certain product. You may get the product, but it might be a very cheap version of the actual authentic product, or you may never get the product. And there are a lot of bogus websites out there that claim to be Amazon.com or Target.com. And sad but true, through artificial intelligence, they have been more savvy into really duplicating the images and the website verbiage on there to look more real than they have been in the past. So you really, again, kind of go back and do a search for the authentic website of that particular provider and utilize that for ordering any online products or services. You know, if you get something on Instagram, just don't go and purchase something off of the message on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Go to the authenticated site. Prizes, sweepstakes, lotteries. I saw some hands go up. It sounds like you may have gotten some phishing emails or text on that. You know, who wouldn't want to win $1 million, right? But the scammers will say, oh, but you have to pay your taxes and processing fees up front. Therefore, please provide this money, or please provide your financial account information so we can deposit your winnings, okay? No, that is a huge red flag that this is not an authentic sweepstakes or lottery. And, you know, no legitimate lottery or sweepstakes is gonna notify via text or email that you won. And when you really think about it, if you don't remember entering the sweepstakes, you probably haven't entered that sweepstakes, right? And then lastly, what's the chance that you really won that sweepstakes, right? Minimal at best, right? So keep that in mind. But that's a growing area of scammers too. Investment fraud. Someone reaches out to you via social media, or, you know, and we all get it too, a lunch and learn, and some of them are very legitimate, so don't get me wrong, but there's also scammers out there too, where the greatest opportunity since sliced bread to invest in this particular fund or a real estate opportunity, guaranteeing you double-digit returns annually, and they really utilize the pressure tactics to act now, otherwise you'll miss out on this opportunity. So be very wary and employ really a healthy dose of skepticism on any investment pitches. On your list of resources there are some good resources on where you can kind of check on broker.org and other financial legitimate websites to see if this particular broker is a licensed broker and whether he or she has had any complaints or even fraudulent reports made against them too, so you can do your homework on that. You can also look to see if this investment group has a website, and if they do, look for prospectus information on them, the backgrounds of the managers. Are they located here in the US, or are they located in Myanmar? You know, and do they describe how you can get your dollars out if you want to get your dollars out? I'll give you a real example. It was a couple years ago, and it was in the Star Tribune in the news, where there was a gentleman out of Eden Prairie who actually was connected with someone who reached out to him via LinkedIn. LinkedIn, the business social media app. And this person connected with him and got him coerced to invest in an investment opportunity. And then actually over time, it was a woman and said, you know, I'm really, it turned into a romance scam and wanted him to leave his wife for her on top of it. After $9 million invested, and then he realized, oh, I think this is a scam, couldn't get out of it. He not only lost those $9 million in investments, but obviously his wife too. You know, probably, quote unquote, a very intelligent person who got scammed, right? And via what would be a overall a very legitimate social media connection there, but you need to be very skeptical and not get under their ether. Business and job opportunity scams are really rising. It's, where a scammer might get you to complete an online job application, and they'll ask, well, you need to submit your bank account information to set you up on payroll for your paychecks, or they ask for an upfront fee to invest in supplies or training, or the cost to set up your employment relationship with them. They pressure you to make a rapid decision on this job opportunity. If you don't act now, the opportunity may be lost. And there are some scams out there where they say, oh, your job is just to simply deliver this package. Well, that package could be money muling, and it could be fraudulent monies that you're delivering, so you're part of a whole crime ring too. So people need to ask themselves, is this a company they've heard of? Research that particular organization and really do a lot of due diligence, because that is a growing area of scamming successes.
You could keep the money. You could keep the money.
Well, unfortunately, the money tends to be going out, right, to them, unfortunately, right? Before the first paycheck comes through, right? So common tactics that are used by scammers. So just to kind of, if you don't understand the labels, phishing is fraudulent emails, smishing is fraudulent text messages, right? Okay. So a scammer, again, back to like a text message of smishing here, you might say, see a text that says, we've detected unusual activity on your bank account. Please call this number or use this link to speak to a customer service representative. Do not do that, okay? The financial institutions will not want information via a link, okay? Because they can, once you open up that link, they can install malware onto your device, and that's where they can infect your device and steal information off of your device and do any behavior that they really want to do off of your device. So if it's a link you don't recognize or trust your instincts, think before you click. I would say, in my instance, I don't click on, or try not to click on any links, period. End of story. So here's an example of a phishing email, okay? And it looks pretty legitimate, right? And again, as I mentioned, through AI, they're looking to become more and more legitimate all the time. But if you really scan, if you take a look at that red circle there, if you can see it, see the Norton? Instead of an O, it's a 0, right? And I'll show you another one. And so where did Norton billing, if you look on the upper left there, so where's the address from? Well, oh, fuzzy send you to a web? No, that's not legitimate, right? And then also look at all the opportunities they're trying to give you to drill in and get access to your device. View the document, download the DocuSign app, call customer support, report this email. I mean, there's 7 different links there to try and hook you to open up your device to them, okay? And sad but true, some really good red flags is the scammers pretend to be someone they're not. They use threats, fear, intimidation to heighten your emotion and apply pressure to act quickly. And if they request a form of payment like cash, gift cards, cryptocurrency, wire transfers, that's an automatic red flag. To me, that's a full stop no. This is a scammer there. Because they're wanting those form of payments because they're untraceable, and or like cryptocurrency, they're not regulated. So it's hard for law enforcement to track those payments there. So that is just a full stop, no, this has to be a scam if they're asking for payments in those forms. Now, how do they get you under the quote-unquote ether? And this, a great example is grandparent scams, right? Okay, you're an intelligent person, but we all love our grandchildren, right? And let's say you get a phone call in the middle of the night from Austin, your grandson, who happens to be in, he says, Mexico. It's in the middle of the night, so you're a little disleveled and you're not thinking straight as it is. Grandma, it's Austin. I got in a car accident and I'm in the ER room in Cancun, Mexico. And then quickly hands it off to another voice, right? Okay, so you think, well, was that really Austin? But it's in the middle of the night and I'm not sure. And then all of a sudden you're talking to Dr. Jones, right? Yes, Austin is here, and please wire $10,000 so we can continue medical treatment for him. Stop, right? Obviously, your first instinct is to do anything you can to help your grandson, but you need to stop, take a breath, calm down, and really, ideally, really just hang up. Call Austin or call Austin's mother. Say, number one, is Austin really in Cancun? Number two, was he in an accident? And really see if this is legitimate or not. Or I've heard of people that use kind of the Thanksgiving table. They figure out, is there a code? Where I'm going to ask you this question, or I'm going to ask the question, what is your family pet's name, right? As a way to try and see if this is a legitimate phone call or not. But again, the fraudsters are trying to get you at something that you love and you cherish and make a rash decision quickly without thinking through everything. And this can happen to the best of people. So, some of this is a little repetitious in that think before you click, right? More than 90% of successful cyber attacks have started when you click on an unfamiliar link. Goes without saying, practice password security. Use very strong and unique passwords for each and every different website that you access and store them securely. I know it's an absolute pain, right? But you can't say that more often. Also, goes without saying, be really cautious about allowing apps to use your location or your contact or other data. Because if you say allow my location, then scammers know whether you're at home or not, right? So they could access for a robbery. You need to be very cautious on using public Wi-Fi networks. I personally just try to avoid them at all costs. But for sure, if you feel like you need to use a public Wi-Fi, never do any financial transactions or access any sites that require your passwords to be utilized. And as I mentioned before, pay attention to other items that are connected to your internet, like your family's home security systems, appliances, your family who have children, their baby monitors, because again, every connected device is a potential gateway to other devices throughout your home for scammers. And if a scammer gains access to your home security network, they have access to the home. And again, we talked about changing, having a unique password, but also just remember when you open an account, make sure that you don't use the default password that sometimes is provided, because that seems to be quick and simple, but that is fraught with red flags. So, I'm gonna ask you a question and we'll go back to the answer later. Just take a look at A, B, and C, and those three options, and think about what you would select in a minute to voice out as the strongest password. Okay, so what makes a strong password? Well, you gotta be creative, you can't say password. I think years back, a lot of people did that, right? Obviously, doing a complex sequence of letters, numbers, and characters, and I think now websites are very good at kind of prompting you to do that, especially with their little side notes there. You know, you could do a creative phrase that might be helpful for you. Don't use your pets or your kids' names or your anniversary as part of those passwords, okay? Because that can be determined through something that can be gleaned from social media accounts too down the road. Keep your passwords private, obviously, goes without saying. Don't share them. Change them frequently too, right? Use unique passwords for each account, app, and device. And you may consider using Password Manager. That's kind of like an outside resource that most of the time you do need to pay a fee for, right? That can manage those passwords for you on your behalf and have them all encrypted. So, raise up hands and I'll go through it. Which is the strongest password? Is it A, B, C? Awesome. You guys are sharp here. Because it's a combination of letters, characters, and numbers, and both uppercase and lowercase characters too.
How do you remember them though?
That's very good, and that's where sometimes Password Manager service, if you're willing to pay for it, comes in handy.
Spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet, you gotta keep that spreadsheet
yeah.
safe, right? Right, yeah, right, yes, sir.
Apple has a password file
Yeah.
Mhm.
that you can open, but I assume that's protected.
I can't answer that question on your assumption there. That would be maybe a good research
Yeah.
study for you with Apple, but good suggestion.
I set up my passwords and then they keep them,
Mhm.
but
Do you have to sign in with your, like some kind of login information to get to it? Cause I do on my phone. And that would be more.
if you go to it, it comes up automatically,
Okay,
which I kinda like.
Yeah,
yeah,
And they suggest a password.
Yeah, but I don't follow that. you
I
know.
started to do that because they're just, they're like that, and then they
Yeah.
remember it, and then if I forget it, I'll just go and get a new one, but yeah.
Great suggestion, thank you. Other additional security tips, again, not new, but you know, if there's two-factor authentication option there, go for it, okay? Because it's just a great extra layer of security there. Keep your software and hardware updated. Again, back to the inquiry there, make sure it's from a legitimate source, right? Be very careful on allowing other people to utilize your devices, right? Only with trusted people. Even little things, sadly, like if you're out traveling and you're at a beautiful spot and you wanna give the phone to have them take a picture of you, you know, very wary of that, right? They could steal your phone and potentially drill in and have access to all of your programs and your passwords. And if you're not utilizing an app or a program or any emails or texts that you don't need, you know, just, if you don't use it, remove it. It's just another way for scammers to get into your system. If you're not utilizing it, then you might as well get rid of it. Social media, you know, scammers use social media sites to gain access to your apps, but also to gain information about you. So, you know, you should only friend, this might be common sense, but just a reminder, only friend people that you know, right? Avoid joining the join the Facebook shortcuts. Because if it goes through Facebook, you're allowing that app to have access to everything in your Facebook account, okay? And be wary of any games or quiz questions, because this allows the scammer to kind of start profiling you. Because if you play a game or a quiz, you're kind of giving them personal information, and there may be things that ties into your security questions, like the make of your first car, the elementary school, your favorite kind of dogs. They learn this stuff through social media quizzes and so forth, and then therefore they can gain access if they infect your device. So, quick quiz. I'll let you read A, B, C, D. Two-factor authentication to access accounts includes which of the options? A, B, C, or D?
D.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I referenced this a little bit earlier, but in general, I think it's human nature to sometimes feel if a person is a victim of a violent crime, like they were robbed at gunpoint, it's like, oh my gosh, you feel so sorry for them. But sometimes human nature reacts to a victim of a scam crime with like, oh, they must be kind of losing it a little bit, right? How could you be so stupid? You know, I've taken it to the extreme here, but
Yeah.
sometimes there's a kind of that subconscious thinking there that really needs to change, because many very smart people get taken in. I gave you the kind of that ether example of the grandparent scam. Victims should not be ashamed or embarrassed. They're falling prey to a scam, and it's not the victim's fault. We need to remember that when we chat with people who are victims. Yes?
You know, we haven't lived here very long, but a few years ago when we lived in our, lifetime house, we own some income property, and we cover the direct TV and Wi-Fi and stuff, because our son rents from us. So we charge him a hefty rent, and then I just pay all the bills. But anyway, direct TV kept going up and up and up in price, it was just like every time you call and you'd be on the phone for, it seemed like 2 days trying to renegotiate that deal. So anyway, we had renegotiated, it was an okay deal for the next 12 months. And not too long after that, we got a notice that we could get it for 50% off. And so anyway, Mark was talking to him on the phone, and I was sitting there at the table, kitchen table, and we got so far into this, and then Mark said, I don't think so. They want us to go get a gift card for, but it was somebody who spoke, they spoke clear English, which probably should have been the first clue, because usually you get somebody that you can't understand. But they spoke clear English, and they were just so nice, and just said, I understand you had, these accounts forever, and you're just, every year it keeps going up, and it just all made sense, you know what I mean? It wasn't something like, Grandma, I'm in Mexico.
Right.
It was something that truly made sense. He
Right.
said, all this stuff, and it was fine until we got down to the, the cost of it to convert over to this was just $100, and it would be good for the year, and it was credit card.
I love that example. Thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. And fortunately, you all of a sudden realize gift card, and number two,
It was a gift card, not a credit card, it was a gift card.
gift card. And it's too good to be true, right? You have to take pause,
Well,
right?
it was very interesting though, because after we declined that one, I would say for about the next 6 months after that, we got a number of the same type of offers, coming through, and then eventually it stopped. So was it like a little network of people that were just,
So isn't that sad but true? See, so you answered the phone, you engaged in the conversation. Fortunately, you didn't act upon it, right? But then it's like you said, it's almost like it's a network. Your number got passed on to someone else. And what that brings to mind, and we're trying to get this photograph incorporated into our PowerPoint, but in our fraud fighters group at our local AARP committee, we saw an aerial drone photo of a scammers service center in Myanmar. Huge. I mean, you would have thought it was a Target Corporation customer service site. And I just link it as like, they say, oh, see, that lady's number, almost got her down there, and then passes the number on to someone else,
They
right?
sell them.
Yeah, and they,
I've been, I don't know how many times my information has ended up on the dark web. I don't know, I kept several monitoring services because of all of these things, and that's one thing I learned. If, a lot of the profit from these criminals is selling the information to secondary, you know, people that can try and make a buck out of you too, so.
yeah, it's sad. Great examples. Thank you so much for sharing, appreciate it. But just bottom line, keep in mind when you have a friend or a family member that may have been a victim of a scammer's crime, keep in mind, and you know, we're all nice, good people, don't get me wrong, but just subconsciously know it's the fault of the criminal who perpetuated the crime, not the fault of the victim. Because we all can be easily scammed. Sad but true. And the reason why we, besides just trying to encourage the victim to not feel bad about themselves and not to feel embarrassed, is that if they're not embarrassed and they're mad instead, we really kind of want to encourage the victims to be mad, they're going to report the fraud, right? And the more reported frauds we get, it really has a ripple effect. Okay, number one, family members aren't going to feel that that family member isn't stupid, right? Number two, law enforcement, if they get higher actual reported fraud cases, they're going to be more likely to follow up on them, right? Thirdly, legislators are going to be more inclined to do more protective legislation to protect victims, right? If the actual stats are larger, which they are, than they are reported. So it really kind of has a all-encompassing effect. Make victims feel like they're a victim, not stupid, and then also helps in future attacks on fraud. So, quiz. True or false? Don't bother to report a suspected crime. Report only if you've been victimized. Great, thank you. Because again, the more reported, not only just actual completed scams, but attempted scams, makes the whole process and people pay attention to do things to protect us, okay? And one of the handouts is, it outlines some of the resources for you on reporting an attempted scam or an actual scam too. So awareness is key, okay? We've talked a lot about current types of cyber scams and fraud, the common tactics that scammers use, some tips to protect yourself online, and resources to learn about how to report scams. And I guess bottom line, our mantra in our fraud fighters group is, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. Okay. And also keep in mind that AARP has what we call a fraud watch network, and they're one of the resources that's listed on that resource handout there. And that's a resource for people that want to report an attempted scam or an actual successful scam. And it's manned with trained fraud experts, so it's a resource for anybody, in addition to, you know, regular FBI and law enforcement resources too. The Fraud Watch Network through AARP also has a really, actually it's a hit podcast, award-winning, called AARP's The Perfect Scam. and it will take you into the inner workings of the scams and how they work, and it will be kind of current, up-to-date scams that are kind of rising in prevalence. And so it's a great way to keep on top of what's going on and what's changing in the area of scams. And keep in mind that this is a resource for you whether you're an AARP member or not, okay? And there's the number there. Again, it should be listed also on your resource handout there. And then lastly, before I open it up to any questions or additional examples and comments, I just want to do a little pitch here. If anyone is ever interested in being a volunteer yourself for AARP, I have a little kind of hard, glossy postcard there. Feel free to get in touch with us. We do a wealth of things besides education on a variety of relevant topics, to hosting social events that I mentioned earlier this afternoon, that you can go out in the community, whether it be movie nights or brew pub gatherings or bike rides or walks or whatever, and also advocacy at our state capitol too, and advocacy at the local level too for things that are important for all of us as we age. And so the postcard shows the QR code to help on that. If you're interested in upcoming just social events through AARP, that's aarp.org /MN events, and then also our podcast. There's a wealth of online resources there, whether it be on the latest and greatest relative to frauds and scams, but also other topics of brain health, decluttering, Social Security, so on and so forth. So feel free to utilize aarp.org and look online for a lot of great educational information. And hopefully that too might be on your resource list. That's right. And here's our general email, web, and phone address, and our Facebook and X account there. And lastly, before I open it up, I just want to thank you for joining me on a cold Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully you got a few little tips or refresher things that will help you out.
That was great. Thank you, Donna, for coming out in the cold. We appreciate it. Any questions? Comments?
So it's regarding private networks. If you're traveling, you kind of end up doing that out of necessity. Are you familiar with VPNs?
Yes.
Does that work?
Yeah, virtual private networks.
Right.
Yes. So if you go through a VPN, that's a more encrypted site, and that works. It's another layer of security there. Yes.
We did that
Good
when we
suggestion.
travel.
Yes, definitely. Yes, sir.
On Friday, I got a message. You have won $9,250,000.
Oh, wow. Why are you here?
I'm asking myself that.
You gonna share it with your friends?
Well, let's decide who is my friend. I wanted to save it, just to kind of talk about it here, but it's been deleted.
It
I didn't
has-
realize that they had the ability to pull it back, or
Oh,
So
I
just
did not know that either.
I didn't know that.
Fascinating. So you can't find it in your email string
Really?
anymore?
No, I can't find it in my message string.
I was,
Oh.
along that line, I was wondering about that with like reporting it. Is it a good idea to like take a screenshot of something like that to be able to then, when you report it, to have all the information and you can send it, you know?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Do a screenshot, because then you have the
Yeah.
actual message, their website, so on
Yeah.
and so forth. And
then
yet
if they
you're
can
not drilling
delete it,
into
then at
anything,
least you have it.
you're not forwarding it.
That's a good idea.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating. I've never heard that.
Huh.
Good comment.
How long was it between times that you noticed it was deleted? Was it
Like a day or two?
or was it?
That was Friday afternoon that it came. I still had it Saturday. I did not check it Sunday,
Mhm.
and I did not check it yesterday.
Huh, so maybe today?
And so this morning I was gonna pull it up and it's gone.
Wow.
Do you have any security overlap, like a Norton or something that?
No.
Okay, that is fascinating. I'll pass that on, see, find out more on that. Thanks. Anything else? Sorry you didn't get your 9 million though.
Like a gift card, how do you know it's been tampered with?
Oh, that's a really good point. By and large, if you turn it over and it looks like there's a sticker over that barcode on the back, right? That is normally a red flag that it's been tampered with. And I'm glad you brought that up because that is an issue out there where criminals go literally to a Target or a Walmart and they go to the big kiosk area with all the gift cards and they'll slap on a label with their barcode that goes to their account versus the actual barcode account that you're loading at the cash register for gift cards. So I'm glad you brought that up because you have to be careful when you're even just buying a gift card to give to a friend or family member. You know, and you might want to even, I think another tip besides looking for a label on top or any scratching or, you know, on it is to maybe try and see if you can get the gift card closer to the cashier, right?
Oh, sure.
Less than an opportunity for a criminal to do stuff. That doesn't mean to say they haven't moved them around, right? You know what I mean? And that has, and I know just in general, in fact, AARP has been working hard along with law enforcement to just educate the big retailers on this issue. And I think the big retailers are taking this a lot more seriously. And I think trying to make sure their security personnel is overseeing that area more closely. But great comment.
That's a great question, Pat.
Thank you.
Can the cashiers check that?
And yeah, I think even asking the cashier, hopefully the cashier is educated on this issue. Not guaranteeing it, but yeah, you can ask them to take a look and say, do you think this looks like this has been tampered